swamp. It's small and only so much space you can sail around, fish and build in Feya's swamp.
And today we're diving into a quick start tutorial for Feya's swamp. We'll explain everything you need to know if you want to get started quickly and pick up the details and icons as you go along in 15 minutes or less.
And hi everyone, it's Stella.
And Tarrant, welcome to Meeple University.
And hey, if you enjoyed this video after watching, like, subscribe and comments. You know what to do. Right, now let's get to the classroom.
In this game, players are amphibious clans developing their new homes in Feya's swamp. This is a competitive worker placement game. Over 4 rounds, players will spend workers to take actions as they sail around and develop the swamp. There are 7 different actions, but the key ones which build the swamp itself will be building up your settlements. This will cost you gold and will unlock the strengths and abilities of your clan. You'll be fishing to collect the best seasonal fish, and you'll be trading fish with the settlements, granting victory points to the recipients, but gold to the trader. A fundamental concept to how the map works in Feya's swamp is how the islands work. These spaces, known as spirit tiles, mark the beginnings of 7 or 9 islands, depending on whether you're playing the 2-player side or the 3 and 4-player side of the board. And there will always be exactly that many islands in the game. Players will expand the islands by placing their own settlements, or by adding the common spirit tiles to add more spirit to each island. Whatever the case, through all of these placements, you're never allowed to join the islands together, so there'll always be exactly as many as you started with. This will eventually shape the board into a range of large and small islands, and placements which ultimately change the directness of your sailing routes and where the most lucrative trade routes might be. You'll need to keep an eye out for which islands have spirit and which ones do not, since islands with a lot of spirit can be more expensive to deal with, but also more lucrative. And that is the quick overview of the game's context.
Yep, now let's backtrack a little bit to set up.
The swamp will be empty and 2 islands begin randomly with a second spirit. On the central board you'll have the key randomizing components: the fish cards, the race objectives, the end objectives, the bonus tiles, and the guide cards. Unused cards and tiles from any of these stacks are left in the box. Pick a setup turn order, and in that order, players draft guide cards for round 1. Add a fish to each which was not chosen. Set round 1's turn order based on lowest to highest number among the initiative numbers in the top left corners of the chosen guides. In this order, players will take 3 turns each to place a starting settlement, which are the ones marked with darker borders. On the turns when you place the ones with boats, also place the boat. Each starting settlement must place next to at least 1 spirit, so this would not be allowed, but this would. And each of a player's 3 starting settlements must go on a different island. After setup, each player will have 3 settlements and 2 boats. In the 2-player game, after placing starting settlements, each player will continue going back and forward, placing settlements of a neutral colour. This is to ensure there's enough options when players trade fish for gold. Players begin with 20 gold, 3 fish, 3 available workers and a mana gem, and you're now ready for the first round. The game plays in 4 rounds and each round has 3 phases.
Income, turns, which is the meat of the game, and maintenance.
First is income, which is very quick. Players gain any incomes represented by this icon, which they've unlocked by building the settlement, or if there's an income icon on their guide card. Then is turns, and here players will take several turns around and around the table in turn order. On your turn, at its simplest, you'll place one of your workers onto an empty slot at the top of the board and take the action. Your choice of action slot may grant you an immediate bonus like points. Some choices of action may either cost or be enhanced by spending mana gems. And this is the predominant use for your mana gems. They are mostly spent in tandem with workers on actions. Taking this action, for example, would require placing a worker and spending 1 mana gem. As free actions during your turn, so in addition to your main action, you can spend a worker here to gain 1 mana gem, or you could spend 2 mana gems to gain a neutral worker, which you can place like any other worker as if it were your own to take the action. Whatever the case, each action requires at least 1 worker of some colour, and possibly the additional spending of gems. There are 2 broad classes of action: boat actions which show the waves, and ground actions which don't. Taking a boat action allows you to take that action once for each of the 2 or 3 boats you have on the board. Each boat action is done in the location of that boat. And prior to each boat taking its action, it may move a number of spaces up to your guide card's sailing value, plus your player board's sailing value. Here, 4 plus 1 is 5. A boat's first ever movement takes it into the water, and thereafter movement is through water hexes in any direction. You can move through another boat, your own or another player's, but not finish on the same space. Only a boat which ends up taking the boat action is allowed to move. If it doesn't legally take that action in its destination, then it must stay where it was. The other class of action is a ground action. Each of these actions is resolved exactly once, and none of them are location dependent. You can resolve them anywhere on the board. So now let's have a look at how each boat action works. The first boat action is build. Each boat may sail and then build a settlement adjacent to its destination. Take the next settlement tile from left to right in one of your 4 settlement rows. Place it in an empty hex adjacent to the boat and as part of an island which is adjacent to the boat. You can't place adjacent to the boat in a different island. You can't join islands together. And you can't close off a temple space or any player's boat from the rest of the swamp. For your new tile, pay gold equal to the building value on your guide card plus 3 gold for each spirit on the island you've extended. This would be a cost of 7. If your new settlement has a benefit, then you gain it now, or in future incomes, or ongoing depending what it is. Player boards have symmetrical sides where all of these benefits are the same, or you could choose to use the side with slight asymmetry. The second boat action is fishing. Count up the number of worms you've unlocked, here it's 1, and check the in-season fish colours for the current round. Here it's red and yellow. Each of your boats that can finish its sail on a fishing space of the right colour gains you 1 fish per worm. Fishing grounds will deplete as the game goes on, as players build settlements over them. The third boat action is trade. Each boat, after moving, may trade any number of fish from your supply with adjacent settlements. Place traded fish on the tiles up to a maximum of 3 fish. Trading with opponents' settlements, or neutrals in the 2-player game, earns you gold. First fish on a pile gains 4 gold, second fish gains 3, and third gains 2. You cannot stack any higher than 3. A boat can trade multiple settlements, so this would be a further 4 gold, but you do not gain gold for trading with your own settlements. Every fish that gets placed on a player's settlement will eventually earn that player 1 point. However, it does not happen yet. This gets triggered later when those settlements eat the fish in a separate action called Celebration. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. The final boat action is sail. With this, you can sail each of your boats around the board by its usual range with a +2 bonus on the 3 and 4 player side of the board only. And unlike the other boat actions, you do not have to do another action at the boat's destination. but this is the only action which allows you to visit temples. The temples are these edge spaces. Multiple players may occupy the same temple, and when you enter one, your movement ends immediately. You gain the top temple tile from the pile, as long as you don't already previously have one from that pile, and immediately score any points and other benefits.
Now have a look at the ground actions.
First is Celebrate, and this is how the settlements eat the fish. Choose any single island containing at least one traded fish. For triggering the action, gain 1 point for each settlement tile containing at least one fish. Then remove all fish from the island, and each player gains 1 point for each fish removed from one of their tiles. Since a tile is not allowed to have more than 3 fish traded to it, this action is what resets the islands for future trading. The second ground action is Improve Sailing. Advance the sailing marker 1 step to the right on your player board. Immediately gain the victory points covered, and for every other step, your sailing range is now increased. The final action is Add Spirit Worship, and only 1 player can take this per round. Take a spirit tile from the stack and add it to any island. It does not need to be adjacent to your boats, but otherwise follows the same placement rules for settlements. The first time this is done, add the island totem to the island you just extended. Any subsequent time a spirit tile is placed, then move the totem to the new island. While an island has the totem, every fish traded with an opponent's settlement is worth 1 extra gold. That would normally have been a 6 trade, but here would be worth 8. And a player who takes the Celebrate action on this island gains a bonus 3 points in addition to all the standard benefits. But you can never add a spirit tile to the island with the totem. It must be moved away by adding spirit elsewhere before you can add spirit there again. If you can't or don't want to take an action on your turn, then you pass. Take one of the available round bonus tokens from the current round. In round 4, this will give you points. In all other rounds, it's a once-off action or benefit which you can spend as part of your turn, in addition to your worker placement. If your guide card had a passing effect represented by the moon, resolve it now. Then return your guide to the centre and choose a different one from those available, gaining any fish that are on it. This will be your guide for the next round. Then if you were the last player to pass, you also get to add a new spirit tile to the board, following the exact same rules as the Spirit Worship action. Now go to the maintenance phase. Flip over the current round's fishing card, and reset the new round's turn order based on the initiatives of the guide cards the players took. Retrieve all workers, return neutral workers to the supply, and add a fish to each unchosen guide.
So what are the other ways of scoring and how do we win, Tarrant?
We've already seen most of the ways of gaining points during the game from your actions, and there are also 3 race objectives. At the end of each of your turns, if you've met one or more of these, mark the next highest scoring space for your player count with your token, and gain the points you cover. Other than that, at the end of the 4th round, the game will end and you'll resolve final scoring. Firstly, each one of your settlements scores points equal to the number of spirit tiles on its island. So these are all 4-point settlements, these are 1-point settlements. Then score points for each of the 2 scoring cards. These are all likewise settlement placement objectives. They'll score based on where you've put your settlements for a given objective. Score 1 point for each fish tile still on one of your settlements. Even though these weren't consumed in a Celebrate action, you will still gain their points. Gain a point per leftover mana gem, and cash in leftover gold for 1 point per 10. The player with the highest score wins, and if tied, victory is shared.
Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, maybe you'd like to watch this next one. Have a great day, bye!